units that does not have the capability to kill him in one attack. So let's say the opponent has several units, but if your opponent has something like Transform Exia, which is also 6 attack, so clearly you cannot destroy him without getting destroyed. So in any scenario whereby you are up against a unit with a smaller than 6 attack, or if you bought another pilot to increase its defense, the Transform Exia will recover the defense after every attack, which means it's simply immortal throughout the whole of this turn. Sorry about that. And with every attack on units, it will go back to the active position throughout this turn. It applies to every other turn as well, but the recovery effect is only during this turn. So if you have a board full of other minions on your opponent's side, it can simply clean out the whole field for him. And lastly, you will go for the mothership's phase. But if you attack the mothership first, the untap effect will not come into effect. Okay, so next up we have the Gundam Virtue. It is just simply a huge guard that can save you from your opponents hitting your face directly. And it has the arm intervention effect of 2, which means that it can be summoned at 4 cost if your opponent has 2 or more units on the field. Okay, lastly for this last 6 costs is the Gundam Throne. It has arm intervention 1, which I rarely use it, but the next effect is actually the best effect in this current meta, whereby people use a lot of counters and freeze mages, etc. So the effect of this Gundam Throne is whenever you attack and your opponent has a counter set, your opponent will not be able to trigger that counter if your unit has the Celestial Being trait. So that being said, other than these 5 types of units that I play, as long as I attack using my Celestial Being, your opponent cannot trigger any counters. So that is one of the very good strategies against decks that try to stall your time using counters, because they won't be able to trigger any when they are up against this deck, if under perfect ideal conditions, that's of course. Okay, so now if I've talked through to most of the units, now we are left with the last unit, which is the Meteor Justice. Only in certain scenarios whereby you cannot finish the game in early plays, which is highly possible in the current meta, I have to use this 8 cost unit to actually try to finish the game. So the Meteor Justice comes with an effect that whichever Meteor units will gain +3 attack, that's always present, is a passive effect, and added 3 to damage effects. So such as if Kimaris, if boarded with the Meteor weapon, it can actually gain the +3 attack as well as the +3 effect. So when dispatched, instead of the 6 damage that it already deals to opponent units, it will deal 9 damage instead. Okay, so when attacking, during combat, if the Meteor Justice actually destroys the units on both sides of the opponent units as well as the mothership will take 5 damage, printed damage. But with the additional effect given by Meteor units as the first line effect, it gets +3. So actually you can literally wipe up the board even in late game, because the left and right of the units will get additional 8 damage dealt to them, and the mothership takes another 8 damage as well. So it's a total output of 24 additional damage on top of what it already has, it is an 8-8 unit, but it has the +3 from the meteor effect. It is 11, so within a turn, it has a very high output of 35 damage. If everything goes well, that's of course, because this game is highly reliant on random number generating, RNG in short. Okay, that's enough for the units. So lastly, I'll move on to some of the events and counters that I actually play. Okay, that's one. For counters, I only picked 3 counters. Not much because I'm not very interested in counter play. This counter is latest from the Booster 5 series. It actually, when triggered, it deals 5 damage to the opponent's unit, attacking unit, and gives guard to all of your existing units. So for early games, as the trigger cost is around 4 costs, you can actually destroy that unit and maybe save yourself for the rest of the turn, because they have to get through all your guards before they can attack your mothership again. The next counter, this one, similar to the counter beside it, it gives guard to all existing units, but for this one, it actually -3 attacks to all units on the opponent's field. So it actually minimizes damage that you can take during that turn. Next up, we have this event. Okay, it's too bright, can't see it. There. It's from the first booster. 1 cost, I can actually pump my unit to additional 2 attack and 2 defense for the rest of the turn. So you can actually stack it up if you have a lot of spare energies and you got nothing to use, to deal with bigger enemies like New Zeal for the green deck, which is pretty hard one when you use a yellow deck against it. And there we have this new event card. It's 4 costs, and it actually deals 5 damage to 1 enemy unit. So how we actually use this is, maybe there's a defender, there's someone with guards on the field, you can use this to clear it. And with the effect of destroying it, you can actually gain a card draw. You can draw a card for it. And one good thing about this event is, if you are the second player, it has the Scramble 3 effect, in which that 3 colorless cost is deducted from the total cost, so making it only a 1 cost, 5 damage, a really lethal event card that almost all yellow decks will run it. Okay, and lastly, I have this pretty old card as well. It's 3 costs. It destroys any units that is 4 costs and below, and it does not trigger the units when destroyed effect. Like for some cards, if you know the green, there's a Dome from the starter decks that is 3 attack, 2 damage, 2 defend, and when destroyed, your opponent can draw 1 card. Yeah, you yourself can draw 1 card. But when I use this to destroy it, the card drawing effect will be disabled. But I've always kept this card in this deck because when you encounter mirror decks, if I encounter another Strike Roach, it'll be very hard to kill. Also, some cards like the Blues Gun Tank, which tap whichever units that are non-Federation, is also quite hard to handle, so this card will come into handy when destroying early game cards that impedes your progression. Okay, so that's all for the review for my deck. This is my main deck, and I'll do another review for several other decks which I have formed as well, but I have not used as often. So I see you again next time.